Hey, dear listeners, Brandan and Mary, 90 Day Fiancé. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. Let's see what comes flying out of my face as I watch this show.
Even now, I'm still overthinking and I can't handle it because my parents abandoned me and I'm really scared of abandonment.
I would really like to see both of you doing individual therapy. The things that you struggle with, like the fear of abandonment,
So it's good and interesting. I was hoping that things just wouldn't be conflictual, but this is actually much better than I thought. The mom is actually introducing ideas that I wonder if they are even considering. Given that he's from the States, I'm guessing that he's aware of therapy. I don't know the availability of therapy in this town. I get emails from people from all over the world, and I'm trying to remember what rural, Philippines, or what the Philippines, of course, it's a large country with a lot of different regions and a lot of different types of societies. But I wouldn't be surprised if the availability of therapy is limited, but who knows? I don't know. But maybe the mom could pay for them to get online therapy of some sort from someone in the Philippines or someone in the States, or I don't know. But yeah, this is great. And I'm encouraged. They both said that they're fighting less than they used to fight when they were separated for the first 2.5 years. So that's encouraging. But they're still fighting a lot. So there's that. But yeah, the mom is introducing this idea. I'm not going to, I'm guessing that they're not going to get therapy for one reason or another. It's actually kind of rare that people in their 20s or young 20s will go to therapy for various reasons: access, time, money, but also just maturity. I have a book that I recommend in one of my classes. It's called The Intimacy Paradox by Donald Williamson. And in this, he proposes this group therapy format for differentiation and doing family of origin work. And one of the things that he says in the book is that he doesn't accept clients that are below 30 years of age because, according to him, it's a lost cause, which I've used that book in class, and some of the students, not many of the students, but some of them are in their 20s, and they will say, huh? And so it's not all people in their 20s. And of course, I went to therapy when I was 19 and then went in, I went to a more serious bout of therapy when I was 24, but that's when I was becoming a therapist. So you could argue that's because of that. But, certainly there are a lot of people that go to therapy in their 20s, and maybe things are changing as it just seems like the stigma around therapy has just plummeted in the past few years. It's just incredible, which is wonderful. But I think it is true, and it does scan that people in their 20s tend to be more self-aware than people in their teens, and more willing to admit when they're wrong and that they have vulnerabilities. But I think by the time you hit 30 and older, things really start to come into focus. Because, when you're 25 and you have conflict in a relationship, or maybe even a few relationships, you don't have enough of a track record to learn much. And you might even just conclude that, well, everyone else is crazy. By the time you're 30, you have enough data to really look at the patterns that you are playing a part in. It's like, I've dated 15 people to varying degrees over the past 15 years, and there's always this one problem. What's the common denominator? Me. So I think that it lends itself to that. Also, I think that when you're younger, you have more optimism about the future. You think, I'll figure this out. I have this problem, but things will get better. By the time you get 30 years, you realize that optimism was not wise, and you start saying, well, I think I have to just admit that things aren't necessarily going to change by willpower alone. But so I think there's a lot of reasons why they won't go to therapy, but I think the mom is being helpful. And I think it'd be good if the mom were involved. And maybe she just, by the way, there's a lot of really touching moments in this conversation. The mom was saying that she is sorry for having an addiction and not being there for him and screwing things up. And she took full responsibility, which does point towards a robust recovery process that she is currently in. Because that is one of the main pillars of recovery from addiction, is admitting that you let people down and not being ashamed of it to the point where you end up using and going down a downward spiral. You just have to sit with the fact that you have let other people down and you feel bad and you wish you could go back, but you can't, but you feel bad and you know other people were hurt because of your problem and you feel bad about it, but you don't, you express it, you're sad, but you don't go off into the deep end. And she did that really beautifully. And she said something, though, that I wonder about, that she's like, okay, my son of mine, you're in the Philippines starting a new life, and you're doing this because I wasn't there for you. Or she was basically equating his experiences with why he's in the Philippines. And I don't think that's true. At least I don't know. Maybe it is. It could be a factor. But I imagine that if he had fallen in love in his town, then he probably would have gone with that. I don't think we ever learned why they were online. Well, I hypothesized that they did that because closeness is too vulnerable, too scary. Or, I don't know. Point is that she was equating the fact that he is leaving her, the mom, that he's leaving the States, as a direct consequence of the way she parented him, which I don't think is exactly true. But I also wondered if she is still she's in an early phase of recovery, which wouldn't be unusual even after a year and a half, that she's still sifting through a lot of her assumptions. Because for a lot of people who suffer from addiction, they have a deep, deep, unreasonable, irrational shame about their behavior and who they are. And they just often will conclude that everything that's bad in their life is because they're a terrible person, which isn't necessarily true, of course, right? So it sounded kind of like that.
Thinking, Brandan has his own things, anger and codependency. When you guys work on those separately.
Okay, so I don't know what she means by codependency, but the technical definition is the overfunctioner, right? So I don't know if she's referring to that, which is interesting because that it does look that way, and he does have the history of someone that would develop that, given that he was a parentified older child and neglected, possibly abused older child. But another definition that people use in among the lay public is they will define it as being overly dependent, which is really the opposite of codependency. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. So I don't know about you, but throughout my day, I have two opposing forces in my mind between what I want to do, like playing a video game or playing with my dogs, and what I should do, like exercise more or eat more fiber or something. As a therapist, I talk with a lot of clients about this inner conflict. Most people think it's all about willpower, even though research demonstrates that willpower doesn't really work. There are a lot of evidence-based techniques that actually work that people don't usually consider, like using behavioral shaping techniques or healing from our relational traumas that keep us stuck internally. Well, one option worth exploring is BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, it's worth giving a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient and suited to your schedule. And also, you can switch therapists at any time at no additional charge. So, make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Kirk today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
I promise you that together you will function better.
We also heard her identify him as having a problem with anger, so that's interesting. And we haven't seen that on camera except for that clandestine video that she shot of him when he was on the TV with the volume up, so that doesn't surprise me. He has a lot to be angry about. Not that it justifies him being rageful to Mary, but that's interesting to hear.
I'm more than willing to do that. And if Mary is willing to like commit to therapy like alongside, then that would mean a lot.
I'm willing to, and also I'm really thankful that you give us advice, and it helps me a lot.
Yeah, that was another thing I was thinking, was that her grandparents, Mary's grandparents, I don't know, I'm sure there's a lot of conversations that are happening off camera, of course, but on camera, the conversations are pretty limited in content, and it could be for a variety of reasons. But Brandan's mom has been through a lot of recovery, and one of the benefits of doing that is that you learn a lot about psychology and emotions and communication and fairness and differentiation and shame and getting better and vulnerability and you just learn a lot of things. It's one of the benefits, I guess, of going through recovery, and you can emerge with a really expert level of knowledge about this sort of thing. Some of you might be able to relate to this. And the mom also, as seemingly a mainstream American, she has absorbed a lot of the talk in our culture around these kinds of issues, right? There's TV shows and talk shows and YouTube channels that talk about these sorts of things. So she could be coming to the table with them with a real high level of expertise and ability to guide them and help them, which she's doing right now, that Mary's grandparents might not have access to. They might not know these things. So I was wondering how Mary would receive this, and she seems to be really soaking it up, which is really just encouraging. I feel like I can let out a sigh of relief. Because it makes me want to cry too, but it gives gives Brandan's mom a role. The mom wants to be a part of Brandan's life and Mary's, I guess, now. And I'm really happy too that Mary is exhibiting a lot of vulnerability and is soaking it up, which makes sense, right? That for her, I mean, it's the way the grandparents seem to Mary, it seems like they were a little hands-off-ish. I don't know that. But you can imagine that, and that often will happen, and I've treated families in this situation where the grandparents are like, so wait, our child had a kid and abandoned that kid, and now we are stuck with the kid? Like, how does that, I've already raised kids, and I've thought I was retiring. How come this is happening again? I love the kid, and I'll take care of the kid, of course, but my heart isn't as into it as it would have been otherwise. So I've seen situations like that where the grandparents are loving and there for the child and provides for the child, but they're not as invested as would be optimal. And so it's possible that Mary, is very much craving that kind of high level of attention and care and guidance, someone to really, and they need this because the way they talk about their career and their family planning, it just seems like they're just lost. I mean, they really, so this could be a win-win. The mom could get the rebuilding of a relationship that she wants. The couple could get guidance that they need. Mary could get motherly, strong attention that she seems to be really glowing and soaking it up, So that is, this is a good sign.
I'm really thankful that you give us advice, and it helps me a lot, And came from Brandan's mom, so really means a lot to me. Thank you for that. No one's did that to me before, so.
Okay, so she is at least expressing that. She's saying, no one's ever done this for me. And maybe she's just being nice, but it kind of looks like that she hasn't had someone that's really just focused and said, hey, let's work on this. I'm with you together, and I have wisdom and knowledge and maybe money to help them with getting access to therapy or something. And so Mary is saying, I've never had that before, which is, it breaks your heart to think that her parents abandoned her, and then maybe, although she was given shelter and food and stability, she didn't have anyone really paying attention to her.
We did have probably the best communication tonight that we've had since I've been here.
And kudos to the mom. Bad frame. Let's change
But
that.
really.
Okay, there you go. So the mom is the reason for that, at least in the way the edit looked, the mom led the way with vulnerability. The mom led the way with talking about how she has regrets and she's sorry for what she has done. And she talked about her feelings, a lot of I statements, sort of communication. And then the others, Mary and Brandan, followed suit, particularly Mary did. Whereas if the mom had come on strong the way she has in previous moments, then there would have been opposition and escalation of conflict. So kudos to the mom.
Oh my gosh, it's a girl.
Oh, it's a girl.
You know what that means, right?
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah. Go.
I've seen a lot of variations on the gender reveal party, but I've never seen this one before.
Whoa. That's a lot.
You're gonna eat that?
All right. Well, if you ever see a comment and I heart your comment, it means that I have read it and I'm giving it a thumbs up. I feel like heart is really going in a too far sometimes. Sometimes someone's just saying something and I'm just like, yeah, thumbs up. I hear you, or I get it. I get what you're saying, or whatever. And I feel like heart. Remember Facebook when it first came out, and you would poke people? That was its main thing, that you would poke. I feel like there was a connotation there sometimes, and I feel like heart has it. So I just want to be clear that when I'm hearting, it's basically a thumbs up, and I am doing that, indicating that I read it and I hear you. So I hope that's okay, because sometimes I don't really know what to say, but I want to let you know that I read it and nodded my head or said, good point. So when I do that, I hope that makes sense to people. There should be a thumbs up and a heart or something. I don't know. But that's what I want to say. And everyone, please take care of yourself, because you deserve it. You really, really do.